folks. Welcome to Outdoors with Bud. I'm your host, Bud Fields. You know, I'm always welcoming questions, and one of the questions I'm always asked is, how do I get a kid started fishing? Or when do I get a kid started fishing? That's kind of a difficult question because no two kids are actually alike. They're just like you and I. I mean, sometimes the kid wants to start fishing right away. Sometimes they don't want to start till they get to be teenagers. A lot of them don't want to go start fishing at all. So when do you decide when to start them? The best way I can answer that is when they start showing interest. Now, I know a lot of my buddies always kind of condemned me when my kids were little because, like my son, I was taking him hunting even before he was old enough to go to school, and we started them camping and fishing at a very young age. But they showed interest that they wanted to do that, not just to impress me because they liked it. My daughter, she was a very good angler herself in her own right. She's still today. She's got her own family now, but we're still doing a lot of fishing together. And my son, Scott, he loves to fish. He loves to hunt. And I told him, I said, when I've got my kids with me, or if I'm hunting with my boy, I don't have to worry about going out hunting for my boy. But so many times the kids are wanting to take after their parents. What you're interested in, chances are there's a good possibility that they're going to be interested in that. And anymore, this new electronic generation that we're going through now, there's so many other things that the kids can get to occupy their time. And that's fine, that's part of progress. But I still think if the kids was young enough and could still remember going hunting and fishing, that they could really enjoy it. And when I was a kid, I couldn't wait till I was old enough to go hunting with my dad. Now, consequently, my father passed away at a very young age. And I didn't get to hunt with him very much, but we did fish a lot at the river. And my dad taught me about everything I know about fishing. We only got to go hunting one time, but I still remember all that stuff. And making the memories with your family and your kids is really something. I've had kids come up to me, well, I would like to go fishing, but my dad works all the time, or my mom works all the time, or some of the kids are from broken families. They want to go do things, but the parents, a lot of them anymore with the economy the way it is, they're forced to work in 2, sometimes 3 different jobs. They don't seem to have time anymore to take it with the kids. I've gone into a lot of youth correction facilities, and I've talked to kids about hunting. I talk to kids about fishing, and I try to share a lot of my experiences and adventures with those kids. And that's why I always enjoyed writing the outdoor articles. I get to have a lot of fun, then I get to come home here to the computer, and I get to share my adventures with a lot of people, and I hope it helps them. And the kids, I don't care if they're 20, 21 years old, I still look at them as kids. I remember when I was young, I thought 30 years old was old. But at my age today, I would really enjoy being 30 again. But the kids want to get out and have a good time. And a guy asked me one time, he said, you know, when my son was growing up, he said, I wanted to take him hunting and fishing. And he said, we finally done that. And he said, then all of a sudden, my son decided he was having more fun with his friends. You got to have friends. There's no two ways about it. But we had a discussion, and one of the guys told me, he said, you know what I found out? He said, I was making it too difficult. Instead of keeping it simple for my kids fishing, I wanted them to catch fish bigger than I ever caught. Okay, the kid was catching fish. His dad said, son, that fish is not big enough. They released it. Of course, they wasn't going to eat it anyway. He wanted to see his son catch an 8 or a 10-pound bass or catch a bunch of this or a bunch of that. And he said, the next thing you know, he said, I was trying to get my kid to do the things that I wanted to do but could not do. He was making it difficult on that kid. He even took him hunting. He bought him some of the greatest firearms. He bought him some bow and arrow equipment. A deer would come in. The boy wanted to shoot a big doe. Dad said, no, you're going to wait for a buck. Next thing you know, that kid was losing interest. And he told his dad, he said, Dad, he said, you made it difficult on me because I wanted to catch fish. I didn't care how big it was. He said, it was a fish. You know, he said, I wasn't planning on eating it. Deer hunting, he wanted to shoot his dad wanted him to shoot a trophy buck. He just wanted to shoot a deer to put meat on the table and help contribute to feeding his family. And there's not a thing wrong with that. But we got to let the kids decide. If that kid's asking you, Dad, will you take me fishing? That's indicating that the kid is interested in going. That's the time you want to take them. Don't wait until they get involved in other things, then want them to give up what they're doing now to do what you want to do. Taking a kid fishing is a lot of fun. I don't regret ever taking my grandkids fishing, or my son or my daughter fishing. And now my grandkids are actually taking me fishing. I don't have a boat anymore. I still want to go. I've had some health issues, physical issues. I can't do a lot of the things that I used to do, but with the kids that I took the time to take them with me, they're now paying me back double. A lot of things I want to do that I can't do, but I can look back through my history at the times taking them fishing, taking them camping, taking them hunting, and all enjoying that. And that's all because I took the time to be with the kids and I made time for them. And they enjoyed it. They're passing on that tradition. And that's the thing about it. Pass it on, because hunting and fishing is kind of getting to be a dying breed. The sales of hunting license and fishing license for the youth is declining. And it could be a lot of cause because we didn't take the time with them when they were younger to teach them and educate them. The outdoors is a great place to be. Leave a tradition for your kids. They're going to pass it on down the line for the future. So remember, take them out and have fun with them. Don't pressure them. Keep it simple. Hello folks, welcome to Outdoors with Bud. I'm your host, Bud Fields. I want to talk to you today about the basic equipment you're going to need to get started in the fishing. Now, you don't necessarily have to go out and spend $500 or $600 to get started in fishing. Now, you can do it very easily, trust me. But a lot of times, if you're a beginner, you're not going to know whether you're going to enjoy the fishing or not. So if you spend a lot of money on it, you could be wasting a lot of money on it. And another thing, you don't have to buy brand new equipment. I've got some fancier rod and reels in my garage that looks pretty nice. But what I'm wanting to show you today, both of these rod and reel combinations are well over 30 years. And they both work fine because they were maintained properly. And I've even seen guys go to garage sales and for maybe $15 or $20 they get a nice looking outfit. And if they don't like it, they're only out maybe $15 or $20. But the first rod and reel I'm going to show you is referred to as a push button rod and reel. Very simple to operate. Now this is on an old Berkeley lightning rod, and it's a graphite rod. And it's got what they refer to as a push button reel. Very simple to operate. Anybody can do it. You can practice in your backyard. All you need to do when you're getting ready to cast that is simply take your thumb and push it on this little button. Pull the rod tip back. Then when you come forward, you just release that button and the line will project itself out. Now in an upcoming episode here in the future, we're going to be going to a farm pond of a friend of mine, and I'm going to actually show you how you go about casting and some of the different casting tips and techniques. But today I'm just going to show you the basic. Now this little rod and reel I'm going to show you here too also has a little ball bobber. You just simply push that on there, and in case you don't know, a bobber is a visual indicator of when a fish is biting. All right, you bait the hook and you toss your line out there. The bobber will float. When that bobber goes under or starts traveling across the water, that means that a fish has got that bait in its mouth and it's time for you to set the hook. But this is just a little 5.5 foot. It's a medium heavy action rod, and this is a little Zebco 33 model, and very dependable, and they last forever, like I say, if you maintain them properly. Now then, I'm going to set this over here, hopefully without killing anybody. I'm going to pull this other rod and reel up. Now this is a spinning rod and reel. Now you notice that the reel is on the bottom. Now I'm right-handed, so I'm going to be like making casts right-handed, and I'm going to be turning the reel with my left hand. Now this one has got a different type of a bobber. This slides up and down, and you just simply bait your hook, you cast it out there, that bobber will lay flat, and then all of a sudden it'll stick up, and half of it will be above the water level, the other half will be below. When that goes under, that's when you want to set your hook. Now there again, This might have some fingerprints on it, but I've taken good care of them. Usually I'll wipe them down 3 or 4 times a year to make sure that the rod blank is clean, and I'll take the reels apart, give them some oil and a little bit of grease, and you're ready to go. But like I say, you don't have to go out and pay $500 or $600 for a real fancy rod and reel, especially if you're just going to be a beginner. Okay, now I want to talk to you about some more of the basic equipment you're going to need. I'm going to scoot the table back here just a little. Now you can buy a lot bigger and a lot fancier tackle boxes than what this is, but you can buy these at any of your Walmart stores. You can probably even find some at garage sales. Now I've got some that are so huge that you just about have to put wheels on it to get it around. But a little flat tackle box like this is ideal. And just open it up, and they've got these little blue petitioners here that you can put different compartments in it. Just like over here, I've got a slide bobber like was on that one rod. Now, as you can see, they're very easily to be seen. This is fluorescent. This is your little ball bobber. It's got a little button on the top. You simply push that, and at the bottom there's a little wire comes out, and you clip that to your line. Well, then here's another round bobber. The thing about it is, you got to know when the fish are biting. Now, some people want to know, when do I set the hook? Some people will say count to 10. Well, my grandpa used to tell me, he said, if that fish has got that bobber going under, or he's running with it, there's only one place he's going to have that hook. It's going to be in his mouth. He don't have hands. The longer you wait to set the hook, the more chance that fish is going to have to spit that lure back out. Now, another thing that you're going to need is a stringer, or maybe a fish basket if you so desire. Now, these things are quite long, and you can put an awful lot of fish on there. But what you do, basically, you stick this end of it down through its mouth, through its gill. Then you can push it through this little ring. Then you slide that up there, and that's going to keep that fish from coming out of there. And you can tie it to your boat, you can tie it to a branch of a tree, anything that you want to do, and the fish are not going to go anywhere. Now, something else you're going to need. You're going to need a small sinker. Now, when you're pan fishing and starting out, I always say keep it simple. Kind of like the old kiss sheet, keep it simple, stupid. But think small, because most of the fish that you're going to catch, just like a bluegill, for instance, a bluegill has got a very small mouth. If you use a very big hook, he's not going to be able to get in his mouth, so you want to think small. Well, think the same thing on your sinker. You don't want to go too big. Now, these are referred to as split shot sinkers. You can see it's got a slot. Your fishing line just fits through that slot. Then you take your pliers and just pinch it ever so slightly to make sure that it's tight on that fishing line. That way you're going to be able to get that bobber to stand up real good. Okay, one other thing that you're going to need to consider is your fishing hooks. Now, I kind of got ahead of myself, but I always say think simple and keep it small. Is just like this little hook right here. It's got a long shank, but the mouth opening on the hook itself is small. That way, if you're catching bluegill, they can very easily get that hook in their mouth. And you can buy a lot of this stuff at any of your Walmarts, any sporting goods stores. I would estimate everything in this tackle box. There's probably at this time less than $10 invested in that and the tackle box. But the thing about it is, fishing can be so much fun, but you're not going to catch fish every time you go out. And I've always tried to maintain the idea that I could take you fishing today, we might catch 200 fish, all right? I could take you back to that same place tomorrow morning. We might not even get a bite. There's a lot of things that will govern the activity of the fish, and that will be discussed in a future episode. So I want you to stay with us on it. And if you've got any kind of questions, feel free to reach out to me, and don't ever think that, I've had people say, I've got a dumb question. Well, folks, there's no such thing as a dumb question. And you're not going to learn if you don't ask. Just remember, Even the guys that you see on TV that's winning all these multi-million-dollar bass boat tournaments, they had to start somewhere. And a lot of the guys are going to be starting just like that.